Hi, I'm Phil Esott and I'm the author of Kindle bestseller Arthritis, the best thing that ever happened to me. I do now Skype calls with people to help them with their autoimmunity and chronic disease, advising them on all sorts of lifestyle changes. I have a website at pureactivity.net where lots more info can be found. I do Ancestral health awareness meetings and public speaking. It's funny the turns that life takes, eh? So I started to do this because I was diagnosed with psoriatic arthritis in 2010. It had been leading up to that with many aches and pains for a long time before that. And I was lucky enough to have the resources and the great interest in it to research, to have the time to research, hours and hours a day for years to find my way out of this. And it's my real passion now to bring this to people and to help them out, because the docs really aren't figuring out what's going on. They're not doing very well with these chronic diseases. So it takes people like me, I guess, to bring this to the attention of people who've got a story to tell and can help people to make their own healing journey a lot easier. So what I'd like to do today, while I'm out here fishing on my favourite carp lake — I couldn't have fished 3 or 4 years ago. It's great to be able to come out now. I couldn't even have held a fishing rod, and now I can come out and fish for 48 hours like I am now, play the drums like I do, mountain bike, all the things that I did before. I feel in better shape than I was, well, 20 years ago probably. So how did I do this? Well, I made many wrong turns. When you're first diagnosed, you think, okay, I'll take the medication. This doesn't work, it has horrible side effects, it blows up your liver and detaches your retina, all sorts of other things that these disease modifying drugs do, and steroids and whatever, destroy the gut as well. So you have to start searching. The first sort of idea that people have when after that is to go and look for a herb, a vitamin, some sort of a plant or something, or some natural therapy that might make them better. And although this can help, it's a very small part of the real journey. Much more powerful is taking away the things that are causing these problems in the first place. The body's equipped with all its healing abilities if you just give it a chance. But it's very difficult to identify what these things are with all the enormous amount of conflicting information. To me, it comes down to there's many disconnects that we have from our ancestral lifestyles. The time when we didn't really have the same amount of chronic diseases, and the tribes out there now, the hunter-gatherer tribes that don't really have the same catalogue of ailments that we do. They might have different ones, bacterial ones and falls out of trees and animal attacks, but they don't have the same stresses that we do, and they don't have the same influences that we do of the modern world. We think that the modern world is a great big miracle, and it is in many ways, but you have to learn how to almost fool the body that you're back in those times, or somewhere out in nature where the body can have a chance to heal. When I used to go fishing when I was starting to get very ill, I used to notice that when I was out for the night, I would feel an awful lot better. This is down to many factors, particularly light cycles. We'll come on to this when I get started on the tips. But the closer to nature you are, the more the body's going to heal. So how do you actually get close to nature in this modern world? Well, by subtracting the things, or minimizing the influence of the things that are causing the disease in the first place. Let's start with tip 1. If you've just been diagnosed, your doctor might well have told you that food has no bearing on these illnesses, and that changing your diet won't help. Well, they might have seen people give up bread or give up something or other for a week and it didn't really do any good, but you've got to go further than that. Here's how to prove them wrong, and how to know that you're onto something. Fasting. This is tip number 1, fasting. Water fasting. 3 to 5 days, just drink water. Don't take in any solid food at all. Give your gut a complete rest, let it empty, and you'll be astonished at the results. It's perfectly safe to fast for 3 to 5 days. If you fast longer than that, you need to be experienced, or you need somebody supervising or whatever, but usually the problems you have come down to electrolyte balance. So if you take a bit of magnesium, take a little bit of Himalayan salt in some water, you should be absolutely fine with this and have no problems with it. You'll find by the 3rd day of the fast that inflammation has died down drastically. This is because the body's been thrown into a state of ketosis. Among other things, the gut's been given a rest as well, of course, but ketosis is very, very, very anti-inflammatory state to put the body into. It's when it has no access to glucose for all the for energy. When you're in ketosis, in fasting, it's an old, in all sorts of cultures there's been this 40-day fast for reversing ailments, for spiritual awareness, for all kinds of things. It does all sorts of absolutely wonderful things. Now, when you're more experienced, you can fast a lot longer if you want, before you've actually really learned how to eat. And until I learned how to eat, it was a real miracle for me. I would fast 3 to 5 days. I think I did 11 days once, and the massive relief that came when the inflammation died down, it made me not want to eat again. I lost a ridiculous amount of weight and muscle doing it as well, along with a sort of juice diet or whatever. Now, when you've done that, you should have some confidence. If you already know that diet's okay, you can skip that part if you like, but give it a go. Fasting, look into it. My second tip is learning how to eat to stay in ketosis. Now, this is a matter of cutting the carbs out of your diet. It is so incredibly effective for releasing all the inflammation associated with autoimmunity. How I came across it was I found a wonderful woman called Natasha Campbell-McBride. She's a Russian-trained neurologist and neurosurgeon living in England. Wrote a book called The GAPS Diet, GAPS, that stands for Gut and Psychology Syndrome. She was mostly writing about it for reversing autism, which she did with her son, and has done for many others since. But it's the same thing. It's again taking away something that's causing the problem, that's ripping the gut to pieces, the whole grains, all of this kind of thing. So she developed this way of using bone broths, that's beef stock, maybe other animals, but beef bones with the connective tissue. They have all kinds of wonderful things in to heal the gut. There is also probiotics. I'm not as much into probiotics as I was. I think you can get around it without them, but they're useful. They're really worth a try, particularly the natural ones like the fermented foods. Look into GAPS, look into Natasha Campbell-McBride's work. Keto as well, just going ketogenic, has also healed people who haven't even heard of the GAPS diet. Cutting out all the carbs, the rice, the breads, the pastas, all the grain foods, the cereals, getting rid of particularly of nightshade vegetables, potatoes, tomatoes, aubergines, peppers, chilies. These are great foods, in their place, but to somebody who already has autoimmunity, they can be agony. So best to cut those out. Just eat vegetables that look like they came from a plant, meat that looks like it came from an animal, grass-fed beef, wild-caught fish. Don't be frightened of fats. The good fats, the saturated fats are fine. The butters, animal fats, these are absolutely fine. The ones you've got to watch out for are the oils that are made by man, really, the vegetable oils, margarines, things like that, trans fats. Really, you need to avoid these. They're very inflammatory. So don't be frightened of fats. Eat plants and animals, and actually zero carb is something that's been really healing people. The people who just eat meat, eggs, fish. This is what I do now. I wouldn't expect anybody to necessarily go straight onto that, or to even have the confidence to go onto that, but I feel better than I've ever felt doing that. Nothing wrong with carbs exactly, if they're in the right place on the planet, if the light cycles are right, if it's summer, if it's eating seasonally and locally. But if you have an inflammatory history, particularly autoimmunity, it's really worth your while cutting them out and getting ketogenic until the gut's healed and the inflammation's died right down. My third tip is timing of meals. When you eat is often more important than what you eat. If you're eating late at night, you're not allowing the body to heal. The gut will be full, the body's trying to digest stuff, particularly if it's a carbohydrate meal. It's not going to allow the body to heal. It's not going to allow you to sleep properly. I eat once a day, or twice a day, but preferably once a day, a nice big fatty protein meal once a day, preferably when the sun's at the highest, thereabouts. When your hunger's really, really strong, then you have the most digestion. We get too complicated about this. Eat when you're really hungry. Obviously you'll be hungry a lot if you're still addicted to carbs and the body's running on glucose, but when it's taken its 30 odd days to switch over to burning fats well and running on ketones, you'll find it much easier to go without those snacks all the time that wreck the gut and really confuse both the digestion and the liver. So get rid of those, and yeah, zero carb is good. Give it a go. You can find a lot of information out about that online. There's a great website actually called Zero Carb Zen that could be interesting for that one. Zero Carb Zen, all one word.com. Lots of great articles of zero carbers. I've seen great results of disease reversal on this, and people who post their blood work after years seem to be absolutely fine with it. Again, you don't have to go that far, but it's worth a try if that appeals to you. But definitely cut the carbs, start running on ketones. Lots of information out there. Finney and Volek's book, The Art and Science of Low Carbohydrate Living, is the real Bible on keto eating. Yeah, great. You drop a lot of fat as well. So, the timing of the meals, back to the timing of the meals, really try to eat in the middle of the day when the sun's up. This is the time when we're supposed to be eating, not late at night, not particularly first thing in the morning unless you're on a leptin reset, which is another way to get around all of this stuff. It's not so much for autoimmunity reversal, but for people who have really messed up their leptin signaling, so they don't really know when they're full. So there is a case for eating a lot of protein when you first wake up with that, but really try to eat when the sun's up and go to bed with an empty stomach. People say 2 hours before bed. I'd say 4 to 6, preferably 6 before you go to bed. Okay, tip number 4 is light. Now, I've got to stress, this is probably the most important one on here, of the things kind of this side of spiritual maybe that could be classed as spiritual. Light is the big thing that's messing up our health now. We have artificial light all the time, 24/7. We work under strip lights, sometimes with no windows. We're always staring at iPads, we're staring at computers and phones late at night. We have LED bulbs around the house. It's absolutely awful light, it really is. It's so much blue in it, and we're not supposed to see the blue except during the daylight. We're supposed to see blue in the morning, and this triggers, well, it triggers melatonin production as well as cortisol, and the melatonin's then triggered, it's kind of activated at night, if you like. You sort of bank it in the morning and then use it at night, but you won't get to use it because it doesn't kick in unless the receptors in the eyes see that the blue light's going down. How do you do this? Well, here's a day. Here's an average day that you might think of. Go outside, feet on the ground, bare feet on the ground. Another good tip is to get grounded. That's another good thing. We've had shoes for a long time, and that's not such a great thing either. I should think the health went down at the point where people started wearing a lot of shoes. Get grounded, walk outside, look in the direction of the sun, even if it's cloudy. Don't stare right at the sun. If it's up in the sky and you're up late or whatever, you can look at it for a little bit in the morning, but it's not staring at the sun. It's get the sunlight in your eyes, get the sun on your body as well if you can. It's very healing. It does things that we don't quite understand. UV, we understand UV, and we understand that this produces vitamin D, and it's very important to get out at midday as well. But in the morning, it kind of prepares you for the UV later on. It can also help build up what's known as your solar callus, if you like, so that fair-skinned people can spend longer in the sun. So you've got your eyes in the sun in the morning, you've got your body in the sun if you can, or at least in the light, and then At midday, get out in the sun. Get the sun on as much of your body as you can. Don't burn, don't put sunscreen on. This is another con. Get the sun on your body. You're not going to regulate the immune system without a good dose of vitamin D, and low vitamin D is an epidemic now, and the immune system's not going to work properly without it. So get your vitamin D up if you can. If you're in the northern hemisphere, well, just do your best. Get out in the summer as much as you can, and maybe get a holiday or two here and there in the winter to top yourself up. In the evening, now this is very important, don't use the lights in your house. Just consider having candles. There are certain bulbs that work, but candles are great, they're lovely. If you're looking at a screen, if it's a TV and you can't get any kind of night shift or F-Lux, the app that you can put on to give your own computer a sunset, put some blue blocking shades on. They're orange tinted glasses that take out the kind of blue spectrum that's harmful. Now, it's much better, even in the daytime, if you're working on computers, to wear those. The light is very unnatural. It's not even good in the daytime, but particularly at night. Everybody's stuck on their computers. Also, don't look at your phone at night to see the time. Have it on airplane mode as well. Don't look at the phone, have the brightness right down. If you're going to look at the phone to see the time, try not to make calls, don't watch films, don't text, once you've gone to bed, go to bed. If you have to check the time, maybe put on some orange glasses first and then peek at your phone. If you go to the bathroom, don't turn the light on. Don't turn it on. Wear some orange shades if you really have to turn it on. Put them on first, but preferably don't turn it on. It's best not to even get that light on your skin. People say it can get right into the thyroid and unbalance that. People are covering up their thyroids, putting up, you know, this might seem like woo-woo, but I promise you it's not. Look at the cancer rates among people who work nights. For more information on this, look at the work of Dr. Jack Kruse. Jack Kruse is great. His website is enormous. The science is really deep on it. And I worked at that website for about 4 years or so before he became a friend. I sent him my story and we became friends. I've done a talk with him in London, and he did the foreword to my book. He's a bit of a genius, is Jack. He's an incredible character, and watch his podcast, listen to his podcast, watch his videos. They're much easier to digest than his website. I could particularly recommend, at the time of making this video, his Vermont 2017 talk. So have a look at that. Sit down for a couple of hours and watch that. Blow your mind after this. Don't neglect this part of it. Don't get obsessed with food. It's not all about food. It really isn't. So that's light. Tip number 5 is EMFs, electromagnetic frequencies. Electricity around your house, the magnetic fields that are coming out of your microwave, your electric hob, your mains electricity, and the Wi-Fi and mobile phone signals. These are very damaging. They disrupt things at a cellular level. Like the light, with the lights, one thing I forgot to say with the light, I'll just nip back to that. When the receptors in the eye are not subject to the proper light at the right time of day, the cellular clocks all go out. It's to do with the receptors in the eyes feeding back information to the suprachiasmatic nucleus in the hypothalamus, and then that's the main clock that runs all the cellular clocks in the body. If the clocks are out, nothing's working. The immune system isn't working. That's the really short, science for idiots of it. I don't understand all of it, and by any means. If you want to understand deep science, look at Jack's work again. So EMFs, back to the mobile phones. How to get this out of your house? So, mobile phones, please don't carry them around in your pocket when they're switched on. If you do, switch them onto airplane mode. If you're listening to music, have it on airplane mode, and preferably have those air tube headphones. As Jack says, he's taking out a load of tumours on the side of the heads of people who use mobiles on that side. They really are causing problems. They're denying it at the moment. Mobile phone masks, they just put one up near the back of my house, so I'm going to have to move. Awful things. Smart meters on your house, get rid of that. Get rid of the Wi-Fi. Connect your computer via an Ethernet cable to the router. We can never get it perfect. This is the modern world. There's going to be Wi-Fi coming through from next door, but as somebody said to me the other day, it's like the difference between somebody shouting in your ear and shouting across the street. We can only do our best. Minimise that. Buy your own EMF meter, see where the hot spots are around the house, or get somebody in to test it. I think it cost us about 100 quid or something for somebody to come in and test, and it was really eye-opening, the appalling conditions I was sitting and working in. And I've sorted that out now, and it's an awful lot better. I always used to wonder why my heart used to skip, and I'd get sort of hot and bothered and bright red in front of the computer. And now I know exactly what was going on. It's a combination of the light and the EMFs. Get them out of your house. Look at Jack Kruse's work for more on that. Tip number 6, liver flushing. Okay, this gets in the realm of woo-woo. I did a million things like this. Well, you know, the sort of alternative cures, if you like, and they were all pretty useless. But liver flushing, I did 36 of them, monthly liver flushes. And well, they had spectacular results. I have no idea if they do what they're supposed to do. I have no idea if they get those soft stones out the liver, or if they even exist in the liver. But all I know is, before I even found a keto diet, I did a load of liver flushes, and my fatty liver disappeared, cysts on the liver disappeared, and my health started to turn around. Also, I had like 2 or 3 days of complete lack of symptoms after each monthly flush. So it was sadly, it was the highlight of my month, was sitting on the toilet and pooing for a morning. But it's to look into it. Have a look at a book called The Amazing Liver and Gallbladder Flush by Andreas Moritz. Again, I have no idea if it does what it says it does. Maybe it just gives the digestion a really good clean, but we've had some spectacular results from it, and I did see all of those results in my liver, and other people have reported this. Totally unscientific bit of this video here, but have a look at Andreas Moritz's Amazing Liver and Gallbladder Flush, and it certainly can't do any harm. Give it a go. It's Epsom salts and olive oil, basically. Can't do any harm. Give it a try. Okay, number 7, cold thermogenesis. This was really big for me. This is basically chilling your skin while remaining warm. This is not about reducing the core temperature of the body. It has an enormous effect, chilling down the skin. People are using all these cryo techniques now, and people pay a load to go and sit in a cryo chamber or whatever. But cold baths, cold showers, that kind of thing will do just as well. It was spectacular for me. I used to limp in. I could hardly walk on my ankles. I'd get into a cold bath. 10 minutes later, I'd be out and walking properly. It does short-term stuff like that, reducing inflammation, just as if you put a bag of ice or peas or something on a swollen, sprained ankle. But it does other stuff as well systemically. It rebalances the hormonal system in some kind of way. The science is beyond me. Something to do with the hypothalamus. But anyway, have a look into that. Again, somebody to research with that is Wim Hof, the Iceman. Amazing character, lots of videos of him climbing Everest in his shorts, swimming under polar ice, being packed in ice at his TED talk. Fascinating guy, really worth having a look at that. Jack Kruse also has a series on cold thermogenesis on his website that's well worth looking at if you want to understand what it does. It's a bit of a secret now among athletes. Well, not so much of a secret, but combined with a ketogenic diet, it can do some marvelous things. All of these things I still think come under symptom control, but they will take your symptoms down to between 5 and 20% of what it was before. Some people might find that they heal on this. There are many things that make up the circle of health, and if your emotional balance is right and all the subtler stuff, then these things might well fix you. However, if you're not really so sorted emotionally, then what you're going to need is my tip number 7. I was always a bit of a yogi, always meditated a lot, did a lot of yoga. I thought that I was pretty wise in all these subtle things. So I ignored and resisted looking at all the emotional balancing techniques for the first 2 or 3 years of my healing. And it was a really silly thing to do. Because now I realise that this could possibly be at the root of autoimmunity. If you've got some awful thoughts where you're sort of attacking yourself all the time, then it's not a stretch of the imagination to realise that then the immune system might eventually follow suit. It might take years, it might take decades, but it will follow suit. Now, arthritis is an interesting one because it can go anywhere in the body. It goes. Okay, how can I explain this? there's a book called The Secret Language of Your Body by Ina Segal. It's extraordinary. It matches up various emotional imbalances to various areas of the body, and for me it was very accurate. I've healed up joints completely by sorting out an emotional block or a false belief or something that was going on while other joints have been raging, and I've gone through them kind of one by one. I thought I was a bit of a yogi and I didn't need all this sort of faffing about with the emotions, but honestly it's very, very powerful. Please don't neglect this either. So how to do it? Well, I used EFT, Emotional Freedom Technique, the tapping. You know, many videos on that all over YouTube. You can easily learn how to do that. I also used Byron Katie's The Work. That's on at thework.com. Fascinating stuff there. You have to use these techniques a couple of 100 times a day. You have to really hammer them. You might not have to do it for that long, maybe a few weeks, maybe a month, I don't know. And then it's kind of installed as an app, and you can get rid of problems very quickly, almost zap them as they come up. But all kinds of things, fears, phobias, traumas from childhood, all kinds of things that you can look at. Generally, it's not that you have to dig into your childhood. It's what is usually your biggest worry is usually correlating to your biggest symptom. So you don't. It's not rocket science. It really isn't. When you get the hang of it, it's a lot of fun. But really take this tip, not to try it once or twice. It won't work, unless you're exceptionally lucky. Really go for it. Really hammer it many times a day. Really study it. Look at videos of people being worked on with EFT, with Emotional Freedom Technique. Look at Byron Katie working on people and seeing how she dissolves their emotional blocks. Fascinating stuff, and it will work for you. It really will, and you'll uncover things that you didn't know were there. This is another disconnect, you see, with our ancestral heritage. They were happy with their lives, far happier. They weren't in fight or flight mode all the time. They have a society that's established. They're not worried about their mortgages. They don't think they should have this particular body type. They don't, you know, there's so many stresses that are put on us in the Western world. It's not just about their great diet and light cycles. It's about the whole emotional balance as well. And this is how I'm trying to put everything together to show you the big circle that can be put together again where it's been broken in all these areas. Some people will have problems much more in one area than another. Somebody might be totally emotionally sorted and have a horrendous diet, and vice versa. So this is where its healing becomes individual. I don't think it's like this nebulous thing that people say. Healing is so individual for each person. Well, yes and no, it is, but it's under certain categories. And some people might have a different balance of these categories. Okay. So, number 9. My tip is to find your life path. People work in jobs that they don't want to do. We're put here for a reason. We have desires for a reason. We have interests for a reason. I know this is difficult. Oh, it's very easy for you to say, and you know, you can I'm stuck in such and such a job. Well, do your best. Do something you've always loved to do, even if it doesn't make you money. If you really get good at it, it might end up making you money. Getting ill made me money. I mean, now I can earn money from doing this because and there we go. Arthritis is the best thing that ever happened to me. It's extraordinary. I've always been interested in health and fitness and spiritual stuff, emotional stuff, and now I get the chance to do this. I had to go through a serious illness to actually finally do the research that brought me to the proper stuff, but you never know where your path in life is going to take you. If you start off, just take that one step towards what your interests are, your life path. If you're with the wrong partner, maybe don't hang on in there. Maybe just call it quits. The desires, your desires and your interests and your intuition, your feelings, go with them. Build yourself a life that you really want. It's surprising how healing this can be. Number 10. Now this is going to be a bit weird for some people, but to me this is the absolute root of it. I believe the biggest disconnect of all is to believe that we're actually disconnected from each other. We're part of the one organism, and all of these things that happen to us, the bad things, the good things, the things that we consider, you know, to be good or bad from our own conditioning, which varies around the world, so, you know, that's obviously just something that we've been taught. We are a collection of our own dogma. We're a collection of what people have told us and what we've kind of learned, but none of it is usually really true. And when you strip away all of these things, the bad emotions, everything, it's very possible that you might get a glimpse of probably what these yogis and sages have been talking about all of this time. The complete unity of things. Once you've seen that, I had a very, very profound experience of it in 2016, where I got it from letting go of my whole spiritual path, kind of threw it away, and in that moment something happened to me. It doesn't mean to say there's going to be great bliss, but because that happened to me, I was able to look at my disease in a completely different way. I was able to look at it much more dispassionately and get through it in a much more disconnected way. If you're connected and disconnected at the same time, if you see what I mean. There wasn't so much panic. There wasn't so much horror or fear. So, how do you do this? Nobody's ever explained it. I can't say, but to somehow maybe go and find what some type of a spiritual path that appeals to you. You know, meditation can give you glimpses of this. I don't think it really, in the end, awakens you as such. I think that's just a moment of surrender, and then there can be awful things that happen after it, but it's almost making you bulletproof for everything else. So I have to say that listen to the real masters of it. Listen to Eckhart Tolle, listen to Adyashanti, listen to Rupert Spira, listen to my friend Zahir Khan. He has an incredible perspective on it. If you want to look more into my views of it, maybe listen to, I did an interview on legalized freedom with Greg Moffitt, and I got into it very deeply, and also my interview on Buddha at the Gas Pump with Rick Archer. Wonderful series, great. I would recommend that to everybody. Very addictive, listening to all people's awakening tales. Zahir's on there as well. He did an interview with Rick, and I would say that is my biggest tip of all, but it's the one I can't even really give you a grasp on. So, something you're going to have to look at for yourselves. So, in conclusion, autoimmunity, what is it? It comes from the subtle to the gross. All diseases do. They're born in consciousness. They come through the emotions. The gut gets wrecked and leaky. It goes into the body. It manifests according to your genetics, and doctors say it's because of your genetics. It's not. The genetics is just a blueprint. The blueprint is not the house. The map is not the territory. You're not going to get ill because you have this gene or that gene. You're going to get ill if you get things wrong and express that gene. If you don't express the gene, you're not going to get ill. If you do express the gene, there's ways of switching that gene off again. And these are my top 10 tips of how to do that. I really wish you the best in your healing journey, if that's how you've come to the video, and I hope that you stay healthy. If you come here healthy and wondered how to stay healthy, these tips will probably do just about the same. If you want to talk further about this, I'm available on Skype. I'm available on email. You can find me on Facebook. Please have a look at my website. My book might be interesting to people who have some kind of autoimmunity. I've done other books as well, which are available on the website. Lots of blog posts there, lots of stuff on there. So, give me a call if you're interested. If not, no problem. Have a look at the stuff that I've told you about. There's more on my resources page on the website. There's more fantastic people to look at. And thank you for your time. It's been a pleasure to make this.